Hello, I'm Robert, fact checker for Doomsday Debunked on Facebook, where we help people scared of these various things. And this time it's the coronavirus in China, and it's been running in some of these various media sources that there's a prediction of 65 million dying, and this is absolutely not true at all. This was a scenario of a fictional exercise. And the whole point was to invent a fictional scenario to be as bad as it possibly could be, to challenge the health systems and find ways to stop it from getting this bad. So they chose the worst possible place in the world pretty much for it to happen. So they chose, and Brazil doesn't have such good health care as most parts of the world, and then within Brazil they chose the pig farms, which apparently they have low standard of health care for the pig farmers, which is also a place where something like this could start. And then they imagined it spending quite a while in Brazil amongst those pig farms before anyone knew anything about it. And all the pig farmers getting ill and just not thinking much of it. And so and then over 18-month period you get 65 million dying. But this is not a prediction for the future. It's not even a prediction for any. It's a fictional pandemic. Because they invented it to be as infectious as the flu, and to be much more deadly than the flu. And and they eventually. So if you looked at our flu, then if you imagine that the flu was just starting for the first time, then people would be absolutely terrified of it, because thousands of people die every year. Imagine if you were told that there was this new disease just about to start, and that thousands of people die every year, and that there's it's impossible to vaccinate against it because it's so mutable, it's constantly changing, and that's what our flu does. And a vaccine only lasts for one season, and the vaccines for this winter won't work for next winter, and they only managed for a few percent of, you can't get 100% vaccines for flu. And with elderly people and people with challenged immune systems are going to be dying of it. And that would be really one of the worst that there's been, apart from the big flu epidemics, which of course are flu. Anyway, they imagined something like that you've got something like the flu, but it's a completely new virus, and there's no vaccine for it at all, and nobody knows it for ages, and then it happens in a place with very little by way of medical facilities to do anything about it once they do discover it, and then they said, now what can we do to stop this happening? And that was the whole point in the exercise. They went through this exercise, said, how can we make sure that this doesn't happen in the future? This has nothing to do with the Chinese coronavirus. And so they had various take-home exercises. You can go and look it up, the event 2-in-1 scenario, and they have these. So as they say, to be clear, the Centre for Health Security and Partners did not make a prediction, and it was a fictional coronavirus pandemic. We've explicitly stated it was not a prediction, and instead it served to highlight preparedness and response challenges that would likely arise in a very severe pandemic. We are not now predicting that the NCOV, the new coronavirus 2019 epidemic, will kill 65 million people. Although our tabletop exercise included a mock novel coronavirus, the inputs we used for modelling the potential impact of that fictional virus are not similar to NCOV 2019. That is their statement. And they had to do that because of multiple media sources, Daily Mail and various other places. There's a Future magazine, I think, was something that you'd think would be quite respectable, and they just ran this story as if they just picked up the Event 101. You can find it here, Event 201. You can pick it up. It's quite interesting, you know. If you want to find a little bit about the work they're doing on preventing pandemics, then it's quite interesting. You can go click through and you can find the that's a statement. That's Event 201. The videos there. Yeah, so if you want to find out about it, click through to the videos on that page. I think that's quite the right page for the highlights field, but have a look at the videos. I haven't gone through them all, I've just dipped into them. But some quite interesting discussions there about ways that you can deal with future pandemics and how we can prevent them happening. But this is nothing to do, which is really nothing to do with the current coronavirus, which is nothing like their inputs. It is only 4% die. It is very uninfectious compared with flu. And it happened in a place with a high standard of health care. China has good hospitals, and Wuhan has good hospitals. They have lots of nurses and lots of doctors, highly trained, and it is totally different scenario, absolutely totally different. It's got no resemblance, nothing, not even a single point resembles it. You know, it's none of these things. It's in a place with good health care and a place with it's got low infection rate. And now it's contained. It's being contained. They swiftly impose measures to contain it, and considering that they only knew about it at the end of December, and it only started at the beginning. Then at the end of January, to have got to the point where we are, and you compare that with the SARS epidemic, where it was 3 months before China even told anyone that they knew about it. And this is so different. So anyway, I hope that helps some of you to stop being scared about this totally fictional pandemic, which is not going to happen. And they never predicted it would happen at all. They didn't even say it would happen with any disease. They made it up to be as worse as possible and pushed it to be as bad as possible by putting in really quite unrealistic inputs, but the very worst case you could possibly imagine. And then said, let's stress test our health system and see if it can deal with this extreme case. And then from that they learned various lessons. So anyway, hope that helps. So usual thing, if you want to do subscribe to this channel, and I'll put a little link to this. It's just you have to scroll a fair way down the page to find it, but I've got a little bit about it. I haven't done a separate article about it. Do join Doomsday Debunked, especially if you can help fact check these stories for people who are scared, or if you're scared yourself. And Doomsday Debunked. And if you join the book group, do read the rules that they're pinned to the top of every page, of the main page, in order to get an idea of how the group works, and you know, what the various things, like for instance, not to share a future date and not to do jokes. In fact, I think I'll do a separate video just about that, about our group rules, to help people who are newbies. So anyway, hope that helped, and do check the description. I'll put a link to this.